Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 419. This is your guide to the geek side. I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, joined by Charlie Carden.
What's up? Studio is done. I did my first actual moving the desk, so you get a little bit more background here. I'm kind of excited about that. So yes, a little bit new stuff. It sucks. I have two glass block windows on the back wall, so I did had it facing this way, and it was like, brrr! So I can only do that at night. So today you get this. Enjoy.
You need a swivel desk, Charlie. It just turns like a lazy Susan.
Oh, you're right. Like the theater in the round kind of experience.
Absolutely. You just position yourself. And unfortunately, like Dr. Evil's chair, remember when it goes out of control? Maybe that's what happened. You fall out of your chair. Yeah, you can automate that. It'd be perfect. It'd be perfect. Nothing would go wrong with that. And it would be great viewing opportunities for the audience. But we are very happy this week to have a very special guest join the Secret Friends Unite. And that is Mr. Randall Lotowycz. He is the editor at Running Press and the author of DC Book of Lists. And Randall, I don't want to shortchange you. So if there's anything else we should share in your introduction and your many credits, by all means, speak.
No, that's a good starter. I'm a book editor by day, and every now and then I write something on the side.
Nice.
And when we talk about Book of Lists, well, there's a couple interesting stories on how the day job and the evening job kind of coalesce.
Ooh, so you have a large set of red markers. As my wife is a journalist as well. They call her Red because she marks up things and makes the page bleed and makes people cry.
Aw, isn't that delightful? I like it.
It happens. Although I miss it. Now it's all on PDF, so it's redlining PDFs.
How do you make a PDF bleed? You just got to punch the computer screen.
Pretty much.
Frowny face emoji. Yeah, make it happen.
So many editor notes that are actually legible. So you can actually, that's what you mean.
Yes, exactly. I can be very clear about it. I'd be like, this is terrible. And
it's terrible.
But keep trying.
That's right.
Well, very cool. Well, so we always ask our guests to give us their, geek origin story. So how did you become the nerd, geeky man, whatever you prefer to call yourself in the world of genre? How did you become the person you are today?
I mean, it's because Superman died, plain and simple.
The 90s. Edgy.
90s. Yeah, I was, I mean, obviously I was a nerdy, weird kid otherwise with an interest in film from birth. But, and with that, Superman to me was Christopher Reeve. And I knew that comic books existed, but I never really, spent too much time on them. But someone in fifth grade told me Superman died in the comics, and I just had to read about it. I was like, how does that happen? And of course, I got hooked on that and never looked back. So it's 30 years of collecting. And, once you're reading that, then I hear like, there's a Batman comic where he's going to break his back. I got to read that. There's this guy named Green Lantern. He just, went crazy. I got to read that.
And that was all in the same time period, too. That was all that early 90s, that juice. Everybody's flipping out and breaking stuff and going nuts. It's good stuff. It's good time.
Yeah, imagine being an editor at the time and people, I don't know how it worked at DC at the time. I don't know if it was one story person said this is what I want to happen with all these characters, or it was individual editors saying, well, if you can do that with Superman, well, crap, I can do this to Batman and I can do this to Green Lantern. It just seems like it's, they basically went after a lot of secret cows.
Yeah, They did. And it was exciting. So it felt, because even for someone who was not a comic reader up to that point, the concept of you kind of felt like these characters could never change, or, Superman's always going to be Superman, Bruce Wayne's always going to be Batman. So it was just really innovative at a time to see every sacred cow is, up for grabs.
Right. Grab them cows. Moo.
Do you still have then the copy of The Death of Superman? Do you have some of those early comics?
Oh yeah, I still have all the early comics. Actually, can't see it from here. I have my signed Superman 75 Platinum Edition framed up on my wall, so I get to look at that right.
Nice.
Dan Jurgens is a local guy. He always goes to the Minnesota Comic-Con conventions. I should bring that copy to him because he was such a part of that brain trust at the time.
Oh, yeah. I would love to get more people to sign it, but yeah, right now it's just Dan Jurgens. And then I have I have multiple copies of The Death of Superman, but I have one paperback signed by Louise Simonson. So every now and then, it'd be great to get everyone to sign one
collaboration.
Yeah.
Nice. And I would say at this point, some of those folks are getting fairly old. So act soon as fast as you can.
No time like the present. Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
And speaking of that, there's no time like the present, Todd, to be a member of our Patreon, because we had a development just today. Do we have somebody new join us?
Oh, absolutely. This was a lot of fun. I always check. I'm like the Patreon, shepherd. I prod Charlie and Mark, say, have you done this? Have you done that? And it's always exciting when I get a pop-up say, hey, you got a new patron. I'm like, and we like, who is this person? It's not someone we know. It's not like a little bit of nepotism in the Patreon world. So when I look and I'm like, oh, we've got somebody that joined us at our premiere tier. This is awesome. Great news. We're loving our Patreon. It's been great to just connect with everybody. So our newest member in Charlie, you'll have to remind me of the right one. It's Best Friends Forever, right? BFFs?
BFFs, you got it. Yeah, you've
Correct.
got them on our flow doc. You've got them listed in reverse.
This is just the newest members first, and then as the people joined. So I apologize for that. I don't want to get people the wrong ranking. But Andy Milken joined. She's our newest BFF. So with that, Charlie, and Randall, you can help with this too, because you're a creative guy. So when we get a new BFF member, we have to assign them a superpower. But sometimes it can be a monkey's purse, a monkey's paw.
That's what you get out of the monkey? You wish for a purse?
Well,
Weird.
you got to put your monkey paw in the monkey purse, so you can carry it around everywhere. So sometimes it can be like it's a blessing and a curse type of superpower, or it can be like a meaningless superpower. So it's really up, to the givers, like an editor or a creator, their opportunity to be creative. So with that, I don't want to put you right in the spot, Randall, but we are going to put you on the spot. But we're going to let you think about that first. So Charlie, I'm going to put you on the spot. What is Andy's superpower?
Okay, so Andy is, if I'm not mistaken, because you brought this to my attention, and you showed us picture. She has pictures all from the Star Trek cruise, which April and I just got back from. I'm pretty sure we met her there, but it's with so many people and stuff, you sometimes get names mixed up. If she's the person I'm thinking of, she's from Western Canada. So when someone is in Western Canada, I bet that their superpower is they'd like to create like a bubble of like tropical weather around themselves, so that when it's negative, 500 degrees Celsius in, Calgary or Moose Jaw or wherever, or the Yukon territories in the dead of January, you can be living like you're in Tahiti. So that is Andy's superpower, is the power of localized weather control.
Like the radius of her umbrella?
Yeah, that'll work. Why not? That'll keep you warm. There you go. And if I'm not thinking of the right person, Andy, I apologize, but this is how much time I had to research this information. But you know what? Andy, regardless, have fun with it. We're glad to have you on board. It wouldn't be possible without people like you on our Patreon. So thank you very much.
Yes, Andy, really appreciate it. I did some sleuthing. I hope you're the right person that we found. But if, by all means, we want to get to know you better. So join our Discord, and you should get an invite, but we'll send out a message to make sure you get the invite. So you join our Discord so you can be part of the conversation, because you get a lot more benefits and more will be coming your way as a top tier patron. So my superpower for Andy is, and this bases on if you drink or not. My superpower for you, Andy, is someone always buys you a drink at the bar. If it's non-alcoholic,
that's handy on a cruise, because those drinks are pricey.
Exactly. It's not just one. It's not just limited to one drink. It could be like the whole night if your superpower is really kicking and jiving. But at least one drink you get for free.
Drinking powers. I love it. It's good.
Okay, Randall, you heard both Charlie's and I's. I would say mine is a little bit more superfluous. Charlie's is a little bit more practical. Maybe you can blow us away.
Well, I mean, I was kind of, as soon as I heard Canada, I was going to the temperature control route. So I'm envisioning Andy more as like an X-Men with a mutation rather than a superpower. So to manifest like moose blubber and moose hair when needed. So snap of a finger, turn into a moose.
Like Tusk, that great Kevin Smith film.
Yes.
that was a weird one.
Like what was it? it was Sasquatch, right? He was the famous Alpha Flight member who could turn into a Sasquatch.
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go.
So that's,
the
there you
whole
go.
Claremont
Also,
burn run. Yeah,
But you're a moose instead.
Yeah,
there you go. Why not? A moose, moose seems much more innocuous. I mean, unless moose are like hippos and they're the second deadliest.
I don't know, Charlie. Moose are huge and they can trample people. So Andy will be Antlore.
Yeah.
Antlore. Oh boy,
Antlore.
This has really gone off the rails. But again, and just to really highlight really quick, our other great Patreons, especially in the Best Friends Forever level, we've got the Nias family, Sean, Stella, and Henry. And then we have your friends and mine, Missy Merchant, who records with us pretty frequently here. And just a super quick shout out, Best Buds level, that would be Jamie Prinky, great friend of mine and of Missy's. But on the Friend Zone level, we usually give shout outs to our intro tier. But joining up this week is our first nepotism hire. This would be my Uncle Tim, Timothy Horan III of South Haven, Michigan. He's my mother's oldest of her 4 brothers. Mailed me a check because he wanted to join our Patreon. So I joined Patreon in my name, and I put his check in the bank, and now I have to, now the money will be distributed to the boys slowly over a year. But my Uncle Tim has always been a supporter of mine since my youngest years as a writer. When I was a kid, a writer and an artist, always supported me. And like I said, he's the first person in any of our families to step forward and be a part of this adventure with us. So I am very enthused. Thank you, Uncle Tim. I love you. And I will have to show you how to listen to podcasts, because I'm not sure that that's something that you're familiar with, but we'll find out.
Burn him a CD of the podcast, Charlie. Send it to him, and he's good to go.
Oh boy, and that's really cool. But yeah, we're really happy. But speaking of things that are old timey, this almost matches my Uncle Tim's age, because this is a comic cover from 1946. He's not quite that old. From Marvel Comics, nascent Marvel. Was this still Timely Comics?
Timely Comics, yeah.
Still Timely. This was All Winners Comics, number 19, fall issue. I'm gonna give an audible on this one because I much prefer the All Losers comics. I think the edgers were, I think the stories were a little more edgy, but this is the Invaders, which I remember. This was Captain America and Bucky's team during World War II. Even though
this is post World War II, Charlie. Actually, it's
post World War II.
Yeah.
But so this would have been Cap of the late 40s. So this would not be Steve Rogers' Cap.
Nope. I can give you the roster. So
yeah,
Submariner.
The Wizard.
I love this. Do you know what Submariner's real name is? Namor Mackenzie. Did not know he had a last name. That's fun.
I knew that.
Oh, I did not know that.
Blame.
Okay, Captain America, William Nasland. Bucky, Fred Davis. Human Torch, who is the android at the time. Yep. Right. Toro, who actually looks like Namor Jr. for some reason, because he's not wearing anything.
What?
Yeah. So that's Thomas Raymond Toro, and Miss America, Madeline Joyce, and Wizard Robert Frank. So there you go.
Not Wizard, which is what it sounded like you said. The Wizard, not super running powers, had super incontinence issues. Thus the Wizard. I know that. I know.
Yeah, I don't think you can be all winners with him on that team.
Yeah, you're right. So who is the least winner of the all winner squad? Yeah. I'll go with the Wizard just because of that name. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, this comic's crazy because it's got like 9 stories in it for whatever the price was at the time. As an editor, you had to put if you had to put 7 stories in one comic every month, you would be pulling your hair out.
This was the fall issue. This is a quarterly publication.
Oh, okay, but still, that's a lot of stories in one quarter.
It's a lot of work for 5 cents or less, and then somebody read it and threw it in the trash.
Yeah,
which is why now it's worth $75 million. I have no idea what it's worth. If it exists.
I love this. I don't know who the bad guy is, but Raymond, if you had one takeaway from this cover, what would it be?
Oh, sorry.
Randall. Sorry, I said Raymond. I was thinking of one of the characters from the comic.
Let me just pull it up again to say I'm going to look at that cover and just say my takeaway is there's going to be something very culturally insensitive going on with that.
100%. Yes, I believe the guy wearing a mask would be of Asian descent, and words that I will not speak could appear within that. A blank man or a word that starts with O. So there you go.
Yes. Let's not go there. If you're interested in defining what the deep secrets of this comic are, check it out. I don't even know where you could actually find this. I don't even know if Timely Comics are in the Marvel Comic app. If they are, let us know.
MU? It's worth checking out. But Todd, wait a second now. I know who's going to be able to give us this information. That's probably our senior news correspondent. I'm talking about Madam Webb. At 123 years young, she's down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine in good old Los Angeles, where I just came back from. She's got the latest scoops and news. Let's go check her out right now.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's rumors and news. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Madam Webb, I believe that you did submit one of your original creations to an editor back in the day. I believe it was for the monthly crotchety old person. That's the actual official name of the publication. You were denied because apparently you were not crotchety or grumpy enough. So work on that. Some good critical feedback. Get more grumpy.
Can't be that hard. You can do it. Oh, my goodness. Well, some sad news to get us rolling. Just in the last few days, we saw the passing of actor Lance Reddick, whose face and name you will readily know from acting roles from Destiny to Rick and Morty. Oh, Todd, you grabbed this from some video game site, didn't you?
Well, this is the voice acting work, but he's most known probably for The Wire. He's also known for Fringe, John Wick, other things where when he comes in, he's a person you're like, wow, he controls the room. And he just did the Resident Evil series on Netflix too.
Oh, gotcha.
That movie, The Guest, he was great on.
Gotcha. There was a recently tweeted photo, and it would have been just within the last 2 months, of him and LeVar Burton at the premiere of Star Trek Picard Season 3, Big Trekker. So what a loss to not only obviously for all the obvious stuff, but he would have been so incredible in anything Star Trek related. That would have been amazing. But yeah, the first article that I read did not give a cause of death.
No.
And perhaps they still do not, which is, that's fine. I respect that family's privacy, but what a shame. Age 60 is, especially with Todd and I both pushing 50, that seems very, very young to us at least. So there's no doubt. So yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he is really well known for his voice acting work. I mean, he's an iconic voice. He uses it appropriately. One of my favorite games of all time, Logan's favorite games of all time, is Destiny. He plays Zavala, one of the biggest names of that game, and he's been in part of that game for 8 years, and it's a living game. So he's constantly doing more voice work for it. And it's amazing. He's also been Horizon Forbidden West, John Wick Hex, Quantum Break, Payday 2, and then just a bunch of the voices he does for animation, Legend of Vox Machina, Paradise PD, Castlevania, DuckTales, that retake on DuckTales, Rick and Morty. And he actually even played Falcon in the Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes, which I think is one of the best Avengers animated series of all time.
Oh, yeah. I remember bits and pieces of that myself. That's wild. Well, what a shame. Rest in peace to a wonderful talent. So, Todd, what do we got up next? Frankenstein. Oh, is that one of those that it's now public domain? So we're going to start seeing a Frankenstein rom-com and different stuff. Is that what this is? Is this Guillermo del Toro doing a rom-com?
So Frankenstein, and Randall, you probably know a little bit more about the public domain-ness of things, but Frankenstein has been public domain for forever, I think, feels like.
Right. Some time now, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and with that, yes, you can do essentially, I don't know if there's actually a Mary Shelley family foundation. I don't think there is, where they make money off of this property anymore. But essentially, anyone can do anything they want with Frankenstein. That's why you get so many takes on it. It's free license, and everyone has essentially tried a Frankenstein story, even if it's not just the big monster with bolts. It's a different take of like the Reanimator, things like that. Now we've got Guillermo del Toro stepping in. He's going to be making a film for Netflix. And the cast he's got lined up for this is pretty phenomenal. He's got Andrew Garfield, Oscar Isaac, and Mia Goth. It's going to be live action.
Oh, Mia Goth.
And I guess they're rumored to be casted in this. But I mean, Guillermo del Toro's won 2 Oscars now, so he can essentially get anybody he wants. And he did very well with Pinocchio, which won an Oscar for Netflix. So it's a good relationship, and Guillermo del Toro feels like he can do things that he wants with a lot of money and zero interaction. So this could be very cool. So Randall, I don't know if you get a lot of pitches for Frankenstein. I know DC, that is one of their characters that is going to be part of their like their new pitch with James Gunn. So what do you think of, all the different takes on Frankenstein?
I mean, I've always been obsessed with Frankenstein. Like, also in an early age, I was just really into the Universal monsters, particularly, and Frankenstein. It was like my gateway to that. So I'm all for any sort of interpretation. And just in the back of my head now, when I think about something else that seems to be like there's like 40 Amityville movies every year, and now I think there needs to be an Amityville Frankenstein.
Oh boy, there you go.
I might start pitching that somewhere. But anytime Guillermo del Toro's touching something, it's going to be delightful. So this is obviously one I'm really excited for.
By the way, if you've not seen it, look for the trailer of Amityville in space. Yep. It is like the lowest budget film in the world. It's great. It's by the people who made Cocaine Shark, which is a real movie that's coming out because of, Meth Shark, I believe.
Meth Shark, yes.
I think it's Meth Shark, yeah.
They'll get around to Cocaine Shark. Then you'll have Marijuana Shark, and he'll just be like, "Hey, man, I'm just gonna you got another bag of Doritos?" Yeah.
Well, he gets so lazy, he stops swimming and he dies. Right? Sharks need to constantly move.
Yeah. Weed Shark coming from the Sci-Fi Channel. Watch out.
Yeah. So I don't know when this is coming, but this could be really good. Yeah.
Yeah. That's got on Netflix exclusive, huh? So
yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, let's see here. So, Todd, people have a lot of feelings about Quentin Tarantino, but now we're getting the Elton John / Billy Joel / the Eagles / this is my final thing. Final film will be called The Movie Critic, and start shooting this fall. Are there going to be some movie critics in this murdered with flying blood squibs everywhere? I mean, that is kind of his shtick. So what do we got?
Yeah, so Quentin Tarantino said he wants to stop making movies before he basically becomes a hack. Old, kind of does things for paychecks, becomes less inspired, gets more in a comfort zone. I mean, he could do what Spielberg did and make a movie about himself. Why not? Because, that's the ultimate, like, dealing with your personal issues is making a movie about yourself.
That'll be his big comeback. Watch out.
Yeah. So this is his 11th film, and he says this is his final film. And nobody was sure what this would be, and that now it's basically tying it up the fact it's going to be called The Movie Critic, and it's going to be focusing on her name is Pauline Kael. She died in 2001, but essentially she was one of the most influential critics, and she actually went out to LA in the 70s at the behest of Warren Beatty to write for Hollywood. She did not enjoy that experience whatsoever. And so then she left again. But it's more about probably going to be more like a biopic with Quentin's thoughts on it. And this is kind of a cool take because he typically is only doing outlandish things. So maybe this is his quiet, more introspective look at a creator that he admired, because that's where he came from, the lens of he worked at a video store. He was probably into film criticism. So this kind of makes sense that he would look back on his own influences and try to do something in this realm.
He's an even darker side of the coin flip from Kevin Smith, who was another indie director who hit it big at the exact same time. Different coasts, setting things, within, kind of drawing from their own experience and setting things in their own backyard. So much of Tarantino's work is set in Southern California. So much of Kevin Smith's stuff is set right there in the Garden State, your backyard, Randall.
No, lifelong Kevin Smith fan. I was on his chat board from a very early age.
Chat board. That's awesome. But Tarantino's work in recent years, I mean, Todd, Pulp Fiction was a transformative film of our youth. We were just into college. People were blowing up about it. But what goes up must come down. I don't know that he ever, though he did he go on to a little bit more critical acclaim with, like, what was it, The Hateful Eight or something? Like, he had some different films, Django Unchained, some things. Did those achieve critical success in other ways that I'm just not thinking of?
Well, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is Inglourious Bastards. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood did very well critically, and people are coming back around to that film and saying it's much better than people originally assumed it was, or made some exceptions.
And Todd, that was one you really didn't care for, because you've seen it and I haven't, the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I don't remember. I remember you saying you thought it was kind of, but I should watch it. I know it's out there on streamer, so I should probably take a peek.
I think I've appreciated it more the longer it's lasted. It was The Hateful Eight that I felt like did not deliver on the premise that was just fantastic and built in the last part of the movie. It was like, really long.
You're hateful about the 8.
Well, self-indulgent was probably the best term for that. A lot of his movies lately, it's been like, I love these things, and I'm going to show you why I love these things. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think it's really good. So, with Randall, with being someone in creative realm with Tarantino, where do you feel like where you're at with Tarantino?
I definitely have a love-hate relationship with him to a degree. Like, there's so many things I absolutely adore, it's funny. Like, I didn't like Inglourious Basterds the first time I saw it. Now I put it up there as one of his best films, and it's one of the ones I want to keep going back to. So, A Hateful Eight, I was really not a fan of. I think, I don't know. I get a little too social justice-y, where I feel like he's taken too many liberties with with his fascination with certain words that white people shouldn't say.
Right. Yeah.
I think there's a little bit too much sexual violence against black men, and caused by black men, that I'm seeing. I think it's weirder than his foot fetish, where his foot fetish is just kind of mild comparatively. So,
oh my god!
Same time, I love him, and he makes some amazing movies, and he's really smart, and I really want to read his book that just came out last fall, Cinema Speculation. I heard it's pretty phenomenal in the way he talks about the movies he grew up loving, and I do love that passion he has for cinema of all kinds, like both, like highbrow and lowbrow, and kind of making the case that there is no lowbrow. If you love it, there's a reason you love it, and that justifies it being worth discussion.
Yeah, I think when we look back at Tarantino, he's going to be probably most known as a career regenerator and introducing actors that we didn't really know about, like Christoph Waltz. I mean, think about that guy. Nobody really knew who he was before in Inglourious Basterds, and he's created in John Travolta, Samuel Jackson. I mean, yeah, he definitely cultivates those things that have been really cool to our culture. So we shall see if he delivers in this one.
Back out, and Pam Grier, like Jackie Brown's another. I still love that movie so much.
I'll bet I haven't seen that one since it came out. What would you lay odds that he actually, like, I'm all done with and he never comes back. If he never comes back, then he pulls a Poochie and I died on my way back to my home planet. We never hear from him again. What do you think? Odds out of 10.
I would say, it's funny when you talk about him versus Kevin Smith. I feel like Quentin could say it and actually do it, where if Kevin Smith ever said, I'm making my final film, I wouldn't believe it for a second. And I think he'd be back in 2 years. I could see Tarantino doing it, being like, I'm done.
Wow.
So I'm going to give him that.
Yeah, I think it's a higher confidence, because he said there's things he wants to do. He wants to write, and he's also directed TV. So he potentially could find TV as his new medium versus just movies.
Yeah, I mean, TV is explosive. So you would give it like a 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 that he's fairly legit.
Sure.
Interesting. Yeah, I could go with that. Cool. Good deal. Oh, my God. Well, Todd, I'm headed to Vegas this fall. You, John, and I, our other secret friend, are planning on a boys' weekend there early next year, probably in January. I don't know if we're going to go check this out. There's supposed to be a themed escape room around the film It, opening in Las Vegas this fall. Wow. I just don't see it. I just, and I've done escape rooms once or twice. I mean, it's a fad. I like it. It's somewhat stressful. I think I got out of the one I did. I think maybe the other one I did, we didn't get out in time. Todd, have you ever tried one?
I've done one. It was a very simple one, not stressful. It was just more of like solve a mystery, get out of the room. And I don't know. I think this one sounds neat, because having the stress of a murderous nightmare clown forcing you, that's extra motivation. I don't like that motivation, but it is motivation. I don't know, Randall, do you like to be motivated by scary murderous clowns?
I mean, I'm just really thinking, is this going to be like based on the book, and the only way to get out is for you guys to all have sex with each other?
Okay. Ooh, that's a hard pass.
Choose your team wisely, then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, they always leave that out of the film adaptations, that these kids all did that. So
me and 7 supermodels I don't know. Okay, let's go.
Yes. Don't go with a family reunion, folks. Don't do that.
Oh boy. Yeah, no matter, even if you're from someplace where that kind of thing is okay. Anyway, spanning over 30,000 square feet, the escape room will have more than 20 interactive rooms. Oh, this thing is like really enormous.
That's huge, and it's probably going to be a long, probably longer than normal.
Fans will search for clues that will help them fight off Pennywise the dancing clown. This seems very niche to me, but because I think it would just overall be scary as hell. But I have to make sure April knows about this. So this opens in the fall. We're going to be there in August, so I guess we're going to miss it. But Todd, it'll be there by the time for our boys' weekend. We'll see. John's working on the itinerary already and our T-shirts and everything. So I'll make sure he knows about this. We'll put the
apparently it's already open.
Oh, well, this says opens this fall.
I went to the website. And it's there if you want to look at it. Yeah, so it's there to go anytime. Enjoy.
Sure. Anyway.
Oh, well, let's go from one event that I don't think any of us are excited about to something that to me seems amazing. So I don't know if everyone's been keeping up with X-Men. They've had their, the Krakoan event and everything. But one of the things that's come out of that is the Hellfire Gala, which is the premier event in the Marvel Universe for all the fancies from all the different parts, the Fantastic Four, the Mutants, Avengers, anybody who's anybody in the Marvel Universe can attend the Hellfire Gala. It's held by the White Queen, and it's very fancy. And they've had special issues that highlighted it, and they've had events around it. But now they're actually making it real to life. It's actually going to be a D23, something you can actually attend. I hope there's a dress code, because it would be really bad to see a bunch of people looking fancy. Guy shows up in sweatpants and flip-flops and shit happens t-shirt.
Oh, shit. I mean, the T-shirt's not wrong, but so this is going to be when is San Diego? That's in July. Okay, gotcha. Well, that's fun, because I mean, cons have this show. I'm sure in particular, Todd, I know you went back in 2010 or 2011. Cons in particular, and cons in general, and this one in particular, are kind of weird. The ones that are big and showy, because so much of our lives, certainly during COVID and post-COVID, has become so virtual that it's like, and then you can go to a local con if you want to buy things, you want to do this thing and that thing. So the shopping aspect of it is potentially more diminished because you can buy things online or whatever. But the theatrical experience, the experience part of it, they've really got to ramp things up to keep things cranking. So this sounds like an amazing time. And again, I'm only aware of the Hellfire Gala and everything somewhat periphery based on what I see here. And then what, Todd, what you've been talking about, all the live long while this has been going on for the last couple of years. But I think this is fantastic. I think this is a chance to be a great success.
Yeah. Randall, have you been following any of this or what's been going on with the Hellfire Gala?
I too only know it from the periphery. I've fallen behind on almost all my Marvel stuff, but I absolutely love every time I see one of the costumes being posted. I just think this is such a great way to embrace the cosplay aspect of shows and really allow people to just kind of get incredibly creative and a little bit freaky. And can't wait to see what comes of this.
Yeah, they did like they did individual panels, I believe, in an issue where they basically said this is what everybody shows up and they're the dress, because it's kind of like when you see your coworkers every day and then you see them outside of work and they're all dressed. We're like, oh, you clean up pretty good. I'm assuming the Marvel universe is similar. Like, oh, you clean up pretty good there, Storm, and wearing her Janet Jackson attire or whatever she's in that little photo, and Mr. Senator where he's got like a shirt that's still see through with buttons down the middle. It's like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. Spider-Man in a Spider-Man tux. What does Spider-Man tux look like? Kind of the suit coat with the webs. I don't know. I think it'd be a great look.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you can go to this July 22nd in San Diego Comic-Con. It's part of D23 within Comic-Con. So I'm glad they're doing these type of big over-the-top events. So the people that attend have something special they can take away. And I will definitely be interested to see how they pull it off. Will they have people dressed up in like hero costumes and villain costumes in the attire, along with just normies who dress up, kind of like this is, because most conventions, they have like after hour events, which are kind of like the dance party and things like that. So this could be a lot of fun. Probably going to be sold out like as soon as tickets go on sale though.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, good for them. That's awesome. Well, that takes us out of the news. Time to bid Madam Webb adieu and get out that Fuber app, that Feebluber app. We got to get down to the Geek Easy. The poor service and watered down drinks await for us to talk about things that we're watching and enjoying this week. So let's go.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, drinks are poured, and we are getting our nerd on. So, Randall, what have you been reading, watching, or writing in the world of nerd?
Yeah, let's start with reading. On the book front, I just started the Fright Night Origins novel. It's more or less a retelling of the original Fright Night movie by Tom Holland, and Tom Holland wrote this, but it's setting up a new trilogy of Fright Night books, and so. I'm enjoying that. On the comic side, I just read the Mark Russell's Snagglepuss Chronicles because I heard enough great things about it, and I had just read Mark Russell's One Star Squadron, which I kind of think is one of the best mini series DC has put out in ages. It was just phenomenal. So now I'm just like, I'm going to read everything he's done. So I went and picked up the Snagglepuss Chronicles, which takes his Hanna-Barbera character and makes him kind of like Tennessee Williams during the Red Scare 50s. It's
my gosh, that's wild.
I was going to say those Hanna-Barbera DC fresh takes, like Fred Flintstone and the Flintstones. They're so crazy. I remember reading a couple with my son, and it's just like, this is so bizarre that they would do this, but it was kind of cool.
I know it's shocking that they're, Hanna-Barbera would be like, yes, reinterpret the characters these way, but it works. It really works.
Wow, that's wild, crazy.
Yeah. Anything else?
Let's see. Well, watching, just finally got around to watching the most recent Cronenberg movie, Crimes of the Future. So I'm still digesting that.
You said digest and Cronenberg? That's poor choice of words.
Oh, no, it's the perfect choice for Cronenberg. And on the TV side, I'm doing a rewatch of The Office with my kid, and on my own, what am I doing? Oh, I just playing catch up. Like I fell off on Atlanta when they had that long gap between seasons 2 and 3. So I just watched seasons 3 and 4, and that was amazing. There's an episode in season 4 which I think is one of the greatest moments in television history to build it up. But so Atlanta, and
that's awesome. I've meant to get around to that show because I love Donald Glover as well. So that's cool.
Yeah, and is it Brian Tyree is also in that show, and he's great in everything.
Yeah. And Lakeith Stanfield, he's a great one. I don't know if you guys ever saw that Sorry to Bother You film a few years ago.
Oh, yeah. I totally did. Yeah, that was a great flick. Oh my goodness, cool.
Yeah. Well, so before we leave, though, I want you to talk about your book, though, because that's how I found you. You said, hey, I've got my new book coming out. And I loved it. And I talked about it on the show a couple of weeks ago. And it was funny because you put that out there. And as soon as you did, guess who retweets at you and says, yeah, I read James Gunn. This is awesome.
What?
Yeah, no, I'll never have that sort of engagement to a tweet ever again. But weird to see 170,000 engagements from a single tweet when I'm usually around 40. But it was great. I just one of those sort of silly take my shot things to tweet at James Gunn to say you should have this in your writer's room, and to see him reply that he's already read it. I'm like, all right, great. I had it's that book. For better or worse, changed my life. I was approached by Running Press, this company, to write it. Someone recommended me to them because they had this idea to do a book called the DC Bookalist, and they're like, we don't know necessarily what it would be, but what do you think of it? And I started brainstorming what I thought it would be, and then they said, well, yeah, this would be great. Let's do it. And so everything from my original pitch was in there. I'm like, well, we're going to have a list of the people who trained Batman. We're going to have a list of a chronological order of Suicide Squad members who died on missions. We're going to have a list of superheroes with tattoos. We're going to have a list of cats. Just every little silly thing I could think of, different types of kryptonite, Harley Quinn's side hustles. and then it just, I don't know, it kind of just became a monster of its own because I knew that there was no way that you could ever have, like, no matter what, I'm going to do a list and I'm going to miss something because in like 85 years of DC history, it's never going to be perfect. So then I'm just like, how do I make it personality driven to just kind of sustain it? And so have people not be upset if I'm missing something in it. And so that's what I did. I just kind of went really ridiculous as I could. And I mean, not well, I can't really, it's a book of lists, so there's no spoilers, but I was just like shocked that they both Running Press and DC, because it's licensed by them, let me put in the blueprints to Wonder Woman's invisible jet. So it's just,
that sounds like an easy one.
yeah. I'm like, let's just have a blue piece of paper with the different labels for the parts, but no actual drawing of a plane. And the fact that they let me do that, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is great.
Well, that's great. Awesome. Now the Chinese government has access to her blueprint.
Right.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Randall.
Now we're in trouble. Oh, boy. That's coming over the next batch of spy balloons. Watch out.
Yeah, yes. So quick question. So did you have a point person at DC who kind of like fact checked you or they had to stamp everything approved or not approved?
Yeah, there is, with multiple people over there review it. And with a project like this, because it was so expansive, multiple people, fact checked me. And for the most part, it went well. I wish I'd kept notes, because when I had to go back to actually try to verify things for them, I found myself doing the research all over again. And there were a couple times I'm like, there's a list of the Joker's crimes, and there's like, where'd you get this one? I'm like, I know it's in a comic, but I cannot find that comic again. I'm sorry, just take my word for it. And they're like, okay, fine. So
I'm glad they did.
Yeah. And there's, and of course, things slip through. Also, I wrote this during the first 3 months of the pandemic, on top of a full-time job. At the time, I was a marketing director at a book company, and so trying to steer an entire department into a brand new reality, getting off work, trying to manage the kid adapting to virtual schooling, and then finding hours at night and in the early mornings to research and write this. It was kind of hard, but I got through it. And
yeah, wow.
Well, you could write a book about that experience.
What? Yeah, there you go.
I said you could write a book about that experience.
I really could, but then I just had such a joyous experience working with the people at Running Press, between the editor and the designer, and it reminded me how much I liked making books, because I did start my career as an editorial assistant. And so I told them, I'm like, if you guys ever have an opening for an editor, I want to come work for you. And a few months later, they did. And so I just kind of said goodbye to my marketing job and went to go make the sort of books that I, would like to read at Running Press. And that's how I'm there now as an editor, because of Book of Lists.
Any projects you want to talk about that are coming out?
I mean, there's, it's fun. My biggest DC one, I don't necessarily want to talk about, just because we're in the middle of trying to retitle it. So like, I would tell you about it, and it's the pre-order is live. It's going to be a fun little book, but in the next week or two, it's probably going to have a new title. So I'd rather not go create any confusion with that one. But I do so much with Warner Brothers, and it's all different facets. I got a couple of Game of Thrones projects coming out. One is like a trivia deck, so it's like 200 trivia cards about Game of Thrones and a little book.
Oh my goodness!
Trivia. Seinfeld, we got another one. Actually, I can hold that up.
Oh, that's cool.
A to Z guide and trivia deck that comes out in May.
Oh boy, that would be great.
The very first thing on my new career was with. We have a vast partnership with Turner Classic Movies, and so we did this book called "But Have You Read the Book" by Kristen Lopez, and it's her looking at books that were adapted into the films, and instead of leaning on the argument that the book is always better, it's looking at how there's strengths in both mediums and how the books complement each other, and it's such a fun little gifty book. So I get to work on it every day.
That's a great one, because that's such a tired trope, like, God, the book was better. You know what? Better is so very subjective. And again, to try to compare a book versus a film or a television show and mediums, that it's apples and oranges. So I deride people. Like, I just remember when I was a kid, my mother and my brother were such big Tom Clancy fans. And then sum of all, not the sum of all fears, but Patriot Games came out with Harrison Ford. Oh my God, it was so stupid because the book, blah, 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 this thing and that thing. And I'm like, so I'm stupid for enjoying it. I hate that kind of stuff. That really drives me up the damn wall. So anyway.
Yeah. I was going to say one more thing before we move to the next one, Randall. I see you have something Alf behind you. That is hilarious.
I see that too. I love it.
I actually just bought this. I saw it and I couldn't not get it. It is a
bust
Alf action figure.
Yes, NECA. From NECA. Yeah, NECA does a lot of those.
In the way it's displayed, but he comes with a cat in a sandwich. Like, it's just a cat.
I love it.
That was the reason I bought it. I'm like, this is amazing. They made a cat sandwich figure.
I love what NECA does. The only figure, I'm a huge figure collector, as you can see, but largely my stuff is Hasbro, Star Wars, and GI Joe, and Marvel. But the NECA figures we have in the house are actually in the living room because they're my wife. She loves horror stuff. We have a couple different versions of Pennywise. We have I was going to say we have a Freddie Mercury. We have Freddy Krueger.
We have that actually.
We have Chucky still in the box, like a little box Chucky, my buddy. They really make nice stuff. But it's like, now that I have some more space here, I could look at additional things, but I probably really shouldn't. But now I have space to do it. So that is awesome. I love it. All right, are we moving along? We good?
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing, Randall. And let us know though what your next thing is, and we'll share that with everyone else.
Absolutely. Oh, well, I can say, yes, the next book I wrote is it's a tie-in to the Flash movie, and it's
nice.
Flash I don't remember the title. I think it's called the Flash Visual Encyclopedia, but it's from the page to the screen. It's about Barry Allen's comic origins. The making of the new film, and also just kind of celebrating the multiverse aspect of the Flash.
Excellent. Well, very cool. I did hear though that Tom Cruise actually called up DC or Warner Brothers to say that the Flash is fantastic. So we're hearing all the good things about this movie. So hopefully it plans out after all of the craziness before.
Yeah. My goodness. Yeah, I'm very excited. Cannot wait to see. Certainly for men of our ilk. We saw the trailer yesterday when we were seeing this movie. I'm going to talk about. We care about Michael Keaton as Batman. We just my wife and I are the same age, which means we were 13 the summer that Batman '89 came out, and it was both even though we didn't know each other for decades later, we both loved that experience so much. So that is awesome. Okay. Well, I went to the movies yesterday. And very pointedly said, just for some reference, I mentioned this before, our local theater chain has one of these. Subscribe to our VIP program, and you can go see 3 films, 2D, 3D, or IMAX a week, no matter what. So we go see whatever. We go see the big movies, like we went and saw Shazam on Thursday, and we were on a cruise recently, so we missed Cocaine Bear, and then Todd, what did we talk about last week? Creed 3 and Scream 6. So we had to slam all those in last week. And so now we're back of more even keel. We saw Shazam, but then we went to go see 65, which was the dinosaur movie with Adam Driver. And, a lot of the premise of it, and April and I were talking as we were walking out, I'm like, I didn't get the premise of the fact that he's an alien from another planet. That's I missed that out of the trailer.
Oh, really? I would have not got that either.
Good. It wasn't just me, because April said, no, that was in the trailers. Yeah, he's an alien from another planet. He is basically, he's a bus driver. He's driving a long haul expedition of cryogenically frozen people, which this is, again, part of which makes no sense. And it's this is great. When the credits roll, it's a cast of 4 people, and then all the stunt performers. That's it. 4 people. I can scarcely remember a movie that has 4 cast members. Only 2 of which have any actual function in the story beyond, so Adam Driver's character, whose name is Mills, like General Mills, is driving this bus, but he took this long haul job so that he could pay for the medicine because his daughter is sick. It's like Trope City. So he's on this long haul. It's 2 years. And right near the end of it, he gets woken up because his ship gets hit by an asteroid and crashes on this planet. And they give it away right in the credits. You get this roll in where you get 65 million years ago. a ship crashed on Earth, and then the movie begins. So it's exactly that. He crashes on Earth not only during the dinosaur era, but also when the meteor, which is what he ran into, is about to hit Earth and wipe out the dinosaurs.
Wow, did they plan that?
Todd, this is based on a real story. You didn't know?
I didn't get the tomes, the ancient tomes they uncovered when they found the dinosaurs 6,000 years ago.
Well, that's just the thing. So naturally, because it's Trope City, there's one survivor out of all the cryopods. It's a little girl. She doesn't speak the same language as him. So she goes through the whole movie going unting and grunting. He has a universal translator, but it's broken, even though he has this fancy little tricorder device that tells him everything that's going on around him, and even tells him what the asteroid in the sky is and that it's going to hit. And it was Trope City. But April and I, and again on our Patreon network, April and I do a podcast about dumb movies called A Bad Trip to the Movies with the Cartons that we do. We've only done one episode, but our next episode's coming up. I'm trying to get Todd to record it with us because it's one of the all-time classic terrible movies we're going to talk about. Don't want to spoil it, but you don't want to miss it.
Come on.
Randall, all I can say is that movie's a bad time for everybody. The one that Charlie is not telling you what it is all I will say. We'll spoil it for you after the podcast. So
yes, absolutely. Yes. But yes, we'll come to things.
So Charlie, was there at least some good dinosaur shooting in this?
You know what? I will say, revisiting the realm of what Todd has coined as dumb fun, I think this qualified. But again, April and I always have fun at the movies because we often go and there's not very many people in the theater, and we can have fun with each other doing a little quiet riffing. So this was great. Yeah, all the great plot holes. The girl doesn't speak English. He doesn't have he can't talk to her, even though he's got this fancy device. He's got a gun that shoots, and it never runs out of ammo unless it malfunctions. But if he taps it real hard, it'll work again. He has these little like Okoye beads they have in Black Panther that are explosives. And the yield is variable because one of them could be a huge explosion. But he gives the bag to the girl at one point when they have to split up, and she dumps all of them. And she dumps like 10 of them, and it makes the same size explosion instead of blowing away the entire valley. So it's Trope City. And to spoil it, because you guys aren't going to see this, trust me, in the end, they get away at the last minute in the last surviving escape pod, and there's a rescue ship waiting, and they get rescued. Wow.
I was going to ask, is the meteor like a surprise twist? Because that would have been amazing. It's like this whole adventure with dinosaurs, and then meteor destroys the Earth. Roll credits.
They land in, and it's Jurassic Park. They walk up, they're petting the dinosaurs. She's feeding them out of it's like a horse. Oh my God. No, it was super dumb. But you know what? It's a fun concept, and it was fun to watch. I'll give it that much. And like I said, I love having this VIP program at the Celebration Cinemas. If you happen to live in Michigan, there are chains everywhere, where you pay $20 a person a month, and then we go see all these movies, and it's perfect because April and I, we like going out. There's a couple restaurants nearby we like, and we go see a dumb movie and we have fun. And that's all that movies are really all about for me. So this is very enjoyable. If you're looking for a turn your brain off and you can heckle it, but not too loudly if it's a crowded theater, which it won't be, because April was doing the stats for me. This movie cost like $80 million to make. With the tax benefits, and because they filmed it in Louisiana and Oregon, with tax benefits, it dropped the price down to $45 million, which sounds great. It has made globally $25 million.
Ooh. And that's without the marketing, but they haven't marketing this film.
Right.
So
your marketing doubles or triples any budget. So yeah. So yeah, colossal failure. I hope Adam Driver got his money up front and didn't have any back end deals on this, because he's gotten screwed if that's the case.
Yeah, this is when the actors do the one for me, the one for my bank. This is the one for his bank.
Yeah, exactly. Like Homer Simpson with the gas tank in the car. One for you, one for me. One for you, one for me. This show is very replete with Simpsons references. You'll never get away from that. All right. Secondly, and this we watch all the episodes of this within the last 36 hours. So power up HBO Max, because we're going to watch something, or sometimes we'll just search and we'll play a streaming service roulette. Well, you haven't watched something for a while in Showtime, or on Amazon Prime. So we picked, it's a show from 2020, which just came back. So they had a hiatus of almost 3 years, but it's Matthew Rhys starring in Perry Mason, the reinvention of the classic. I researched it. It was a radio drama. It was a novel series. Raymond Burr really popularized it with, everybody's grandpa. Basically, grandpa and grandma watched the TV movies in the 80s and the 90s. Because I think he died in the early 90s because I was doing some research. But Matthew Rhys is great. He's from The Americans, which I loved. He was on some kind of sitcom called Brothers and Sisters, which I know when I was married to my ex-wife, she loved that show. So I was familiar with him. But
you want a fun fact, Charlie?
Yes, please.
He was the guy throwing the cocaine out the window of the.
I knew that. I knew that.
Okay.
Because he's married to Carrie Russell, or at least they're in a long-term domestic partnership. So because they did that show together. The Americans was great, and The Americans is on Amazon Prime, or at least it was when we finally watched it. But this is a super great show. It's set in 1930s Los Angeles, which is great for April and I, because we just got back from LA after having gotten off the Star Trek cruise a couple of weeks ago. So we've got kind of LA on the brain. We can't wait to go back. And this is really fun. So it is a murder mystery surrounded with the trial. He starts out as a very hard-boiled, down on his luck detective. He's a World War I veteran who was dishonorably discharged because he was a squad commander who flipped out and ended up walking around the battlefield and shooting his own men who were dying. It's just it was Todd's eyes just went boing.
Kind of dark.
Yeah, exactly. It was a little dark. But he's living on his family's dairy farm in Van Nuys, California, which is very remote at that time. And he gets sucked into this plot line about a young couple who had their baby kidnapped and subsequently found dead. And you end up seeing, so trigger warning, you end up seeing a dead baby in more than one shot of these first 8 episodes, which was season 1. But it is a compelling drama when you trace back through all the roots. So it's played out over 8 episodes, and that was in 2020, and season 2 just started 3 weeks ago. You know what I mean? So right before we came down here, we started watching the new season, which has to do with, I think, you already see in the first 10 minutes of the next episode, it's a rich family ne'er-do-well who's trying to bring a baseball team to Los Angeles, but he's a scumbag, and you realize things are going to really go off the rails. Sean Astin is a guest star, as I understand it, in this season, which was kind of surprising to me. So I'm loving it. Todd, I know noir stuff or kind of period piece stuff is not your jam. I know Mad Men wasn't really for you, as I recall, but
I like a good detective story.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Then I would say Todd, a show, Perry Mason, watch the first episode over there on Max. But I'd like it. I recommend it. Again, it can be very graphic. So just, if you're light of the stomach, I would potentially refrain or just be prepared. But I loved it. And like I said, I like Matthew Rhys. He's a Welshman, and you'd never know because he has really no hint of an accent because all the great actors come from the UK. Everybody knows that. But that is my recommendation. That's what I got.
Very, very good. Well, I will just be covering one thing this week, and that is off of the Oscars. One of the winners was Best Song, and that was for Natu Natu from RRR. Yeah, so RRR is a movie that's been on my radar forever, and you've probably, if you have Netflix, you've probably gone past it because it's added, and you see this cool, awesome sequence of a guy being chased by a tiger. You're like, what is this crazy movie? And that's what this crazy movie is. So this is a Bollywood Indian movie made in 2022. It is really... It's what I would call like a Bollywood epic. So it's really a historical story about the revolution of India from the British, because the British Empire, India was part of that. And it was more like over the top. It's almost like an American fable, like a Paul Bunyan. But this is about these two people that were essentially behind the revolution, but it's told in a hyper-realistic, stylized, crazy way. Like, I mean, you get the Natu Natu in the middle of this movie, where it's essentially these two gentlemen are basically invited to the governor's estate by the governor's niece, and there's dancing, and the muckety mucks make fun of one of the main characters who is trying to remember his name, Akesh. trying to remember what his name is, but he was brought in, and they basically get mocked, so they decided to dance in their own song, and that's what you get. Not to. It's this really hyper crazy dance scene. It's very Bollywood, and it's amazing, and it's like a dance off, and it's great. And then at the end of the movie, you get something similar at the end. It's almost like this great retelling of the history. But this movie's all about two opposing people. Ram, who is part of the police of India, for the British, the police state, and then you get Arkesh, who is essentially from the village. And long story short, this governor takes his wife to the country. They find this little girl, and they decide to just buy her. And the family doesn't know that they're actually buying the girl, and they take the girl. So the whole plot is this village's protector, Arkesh, is then sent to recover the girl. That's kind of the main trope. And then you've also got Ram, who is, like I said, a cop who essentially he wants to get promoted to special officer, but every time he gets promoted, they're not going to promote an Indian officer. They're only going to keep British. So this was his opportunity to capture this man who nobody knows who he is, that's going to come and kill the governor because they took the daughter. So they go him, and he basically volunteers to bring him down. If he can bring in Arkesh, who he doesn't know what he looks like or anything, he will be promoted as special officer. So that's kind of like the major plot, but it's got phenomenal action scenes. You can select subtitles, but there's also Hindi language, Indian language. So it's a nice mix. And
you say also, is it dubbed or just? It is.
There's actually not dubbing, which is kind of interesting because you do hear the language, but you've got American actors. The most famous American actor, white actor, is Ray Stevenson from Punisher. And also played one of the Warriors 3 from thing. So it's kind of interesting. I'm like, who is that guy? So, but he's playing like the uber villainous governor, which
could never believe that he would be in an Oscar-winning film.
Well, I mean, and this.
Okay, so what's the RRR?
I was trying to remember what it stands for. Each R stands for a different part, and it's interesting when they open it up. They do this really cool like different segments. And they kind of like R and R and R. The first one is like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. But then they get into what the R stand for. So let me look at what that actually stands for. I remember this and I forgot. Rise, Roar, Revolt.
Nice. And gotcha. And it's on Netflix, huh?
And it's a long film. We watched it in several parts. I watched it with my wife. She adored it. She thought it was great. It is, once again, it's a different type of movie making. It's not like the US. You'll say like, this is so cheesy. It's so weird. Or I can't believe that he just punched a tiger. Or I can't believe he threw a motorcycle. You just have to be in for the ride. Like I said, this is more like a fable than a historical retelling.
People believe that Captain America can whip a motorcycle at a Hydra tank and split it in half. So suspend your disbelief. I mean, we've been trying to make it through the Banshees of Inisherin, which is, again, it's Irish. I'm of Irish heritage. That's a very big thing in my family. And we're struggling. We're trying to watch it for the second time. And it was on Friday night in St. Patrick's Day. So I'd had a couple of Guinnesses and... So I guess we'll be trying again.
You have to be kind of fully engaged for that movie, Charlie. I don't think you can be like half and half. Every time I hear that name of that movie, I always think it's the Banshees of Ed Sheeran, the singer.
But there you go, man. That's his spinoff.
I highly recommend RRR. It's a different type of film. It's very energetic. And after I felt that movie, I felt like this is awesome. And white people suck.
Well, we've always known that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so yeah, that's but anyway, well, cool. Well, that wraps us up for the Geek Easy Todd. Time to get out that Air Qantas app. The Land Down Under awaits for us. The Thunderdome is there. The mutants and Tina ready to assemble to hear us talk about Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Let's do it.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week, we're talking Shazam! Fury of the Gods. This movie was directed by David F. Sandberg, has a PG-13 rating, written by Henry Gayden, Chris Morgan, Bill Parker, stars Lucy Liu, Helen Mirren, Zachary Levi, and a cast of others. And based on a budget of about $100 million, and it's projected to do about 30 this weekend. And to let everyone know where we're at with DC, Randall obviously probably knows a lot more about this than we do, but at this point, we have been told James Gunn is a fan of this film, but we don't know where the future of Shazam lies in the future of DC. So buyer beware. But if you can view this movie as a standalone and enjoy it, I think that's the best way to approach DC movies until we get those official projects. So with that, we all saw this movie. I believe we've all seen the first one. And was the first one 2019 or 2020? 2019. So it's been 4 years since the last film. So with that, Randall, what were your thoughts on the movie?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was just kind of fun, and I mean, I hate to say low stakes, but it was just, I enjoyed both movies, the silliness of them, and the fact that it's a superhero movie from DC that I can take my kid to. Whereas, like, I love everything that DC does for adults. Like, I loved James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I love Peacemaker. I love the Harley Quinn animated series. But at the same time, like, yeah, I'm a lifelong DC fan, and it's hard to be able to say take the 11-year-old to see something. Although at this point now he's seen The Suicide Squad. Like,
and he survived the experience.
Yeah, he survived it. Yeah, he loved it.
All I got was this lousy T-shirt.
Yes, but so I don't know. Like, I thought it was just super sweet. I love the the whole found family component. There needs to be more movies like it. I'm disappointed that it bombed. I don't know where the blame is going to be and why, but it was disappointing to hear that it's only pulling 30 million this weekend.
Were we expecting something different? I mean, I did a Twitter poll, or at least I had a conversation on our Discord or something that I looked at a Twitter poll from somebody that I follow on Twitter who's a film critic or a film analyst, and that was the brackets. Will it be in the 30s? Will it be in the 40s? My guess was the 30s. Todd, I know you agreed with me, but what were they saying?
They thought maybe 40. The first movie opened at 53, so it's never good to have a sequel make potentially 20% less.
That much less, yeah.
And we think at this point the box office is essentially people are going back. So it's not like definitely. It's COVID time where you're like, oh yeah. I mean, you're seeing 1 billion people see Top Gun. You're seeing a lot of people see other movies. So at this point, especially a PG-13 film. That's a superhero that already had you think that it would be a bigger draw. I don't know how this is done with marketing. And I don't know how much people are really paying attention to the linking together like Justice League and things with Shazam. So I don't know if there's like a stink of like things that people didn't like, but I don't know.
And was there potentially a stink from Black Adam? Randall, where do you sit with Black Adam? How'd you feel about that film?
I was pretty underwhelmed by it. I felt it was scene after scene of someone saying like, heroes don't kill, and Black Adam saying, but I'm not a hero. And I'm like, after the fourth time, I just kind of got tired of it. I loved, I loved the JSA angle, and I liked all the characters and the performances. But again, it felt weird that like they weren't given a proper introduction. They were just sort of there. And
very unearned. Yeah, we were not kind about that film talking about on this program, and the Dwayne Johnson's bravado about the film. And again, I've enjoyed many of the things that he's done, kind of for what they are. But his over the top assumptive. I am DC now, like in Captain Phillips, I'm the captain now. That like I'm the DC guy, and then it was right on. James Gunn came along and just put his foot really squarely up the Rock's rear end and said, "You're not. You're out. You're done. You're out. You're nothing." It makes me wonder if there's some kind of collective stink within the fan community, and how that trickles down to John Q moviegoer who's just like, I can take my kid to this movie. So it makes me wonder, just right off the top.
Yeah, and I'm curious. I mean, I'm a big fan of DC and the Justice Society. With go back to what we saw the re-emergence with this Justice Society after, I believe it was Zero Hour. We got a lot of great comics with that, and part of that was Black Adam and Shazam, and how they developed those characters and made them a part of that journey. And now essentially with it, Black Adam should have been part of Shazam, should have been part of that story, because he was introduced actually in the first Shazam, was saying first person we took his powers because he abused them. And then we got The Rock says, I want nothing to do with Shazam, even though you look just like Shazam. You've got a big old, arrow, lightning bolt on your chest. And it to me is like,
in both movies.
Yeah.
Exactly. So right. In this one, and I think a lot of people felt like the first Shazam was like, it felt like a breath of fresh air when DC was doing very dark. This is like just someone having fun. It's a wish fulfillment of a kid being a superhero. Right. And except for like that one scene where there was some deaths, because the director of this, he does do horror. So he brought a little bit of his horror sense. I think this movie did a little bit of the same thing at the opening, where Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren, whispered in the ear, and then it was kind of freaky because it was almost like a zombie outbreak. Yeah. So that was a little bit of an interesting layering. But I think a lot of people really were happy with the first Shazam, and this one, I don't know. I don't know what happened differently, because this film, I felt like it doubled down on the family element. Right. So, but I did feel like it was a little overstuffed at times. Like, we've got so many characters, and there's the mom and dad for 2 seconds who get equipped, and then we've got a little bit about this brother. We found out he's gay, and then so it's like, this almost feel like it needed to be a series, because then you could give every one of these characters their time to shine, to say, like, they didn't even have names. They had like Mary, and then we had the one guy, Freddie, who was Captain Every Power. I thought that was clever.
Yeah, you definitely. And there was certainly a whole lot going back and forth, that some of the kids' roles were big, some of the kids' roles were eliminated, and they took Mary Marvel, and they took that lovely young lady who played her, whose name is totally escaping me, and they swapped her in for both roles. Which in the first film, the adult role of Mary Marvel was played by someone else. So that was something that April picked up on right away. But again, that woman whose name I'm forgetting, and she also appeared in Annabelle, which was hilarious, because in the beginning, when Zach Levi is talking to the I was going to say podiatrist, the pediatrician, he gestures over to the table with the tea set, and the Annabelle doll is in the corner sitting as one of the dolls that's having tea. And yeah, like I said, the Mary Marvel actress appeared in that film. And
was it Rachel Zegler? No, not Rachel Zegler. It was Grace Carolyn Curry.
I knew the last name started with a C, so there you go. I liked her very much.
I do love that Annabelle's now been in both Shazams and the first Aquaman. I'm curious to see if Annabelle
was he the director. Was he the director of Annabelle?
Yes, he was.
Okay. He did Annabelle 3.
Okay.
Yeah. Or no, or maybe I'm sorry, 2. I think it's 2. And he did Annabelle 2.
Annabelle's had some legs, because
I was going to say, whoever thought Annabelle would have 3 films?
Yeah, right. Well, Annabelle's a spirit, so Annabelle hops between vessels, so that's how that works. But anyway, so you're right. It was very willy nilly when the kids were appearing, and you're right. They tossed in the heavyset kid in the family. He's gay, and they kind of slid that in there. He didn't spend much time as a Shazam. Adam Brody as Freddy didn't spend much time as Shazam, so you got more of a heavy on the young kid who was playing that role. The kid who Billy Batson as a younger man got almost no screen time, because he spent almost all of his time as Zach Levi, for better or for worse. So yeah, it was very all over the place. And so it was a bunch of adults as opposed to a bunch of kids trying to find their way. And, they were really downplaying that Billy was scared because he was going to age out of the program, and then he would get thrown out of the parents' house, which gets demolished and rebuilt. But it's weird in the end, because they have the staff that grants wishes, and you hear the parents say, we'd like our house rebuilt, and they don't do that. Maybe to do that, he just, and they got a construction loan. And so the money started pouring in, so they still had to do all the work themselves.
I hope they had insurance on their house. Well,
right. Yeah, it was like, we have a call with the insurance guy next week, and now this happens. But the one, so I don't know where we're at with this. I know we're just kind of going freeform. We got an actual cameo in this, as opposed to an implied cameo in the first film. The implied cameo was Henry Cavill's Superman, or you saw him from basically the chest down, and it was the outfit, so you assumed. But we got an early play of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, but with her, because Freddie was Shazam was having a dream, and we turned around, it was Damon Hanchu as the Wizard.
That was awesome. That made me laugh.
That was pretty great. But in the end, we actually do get Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, and she's the one that resuscitates Freddie after he's buried and whatever. But I was kind of annoyed by the fact that she showed up and she's all smiley. It's like it's a very serious situation. They're standing around the grave of Billy, and she's all clunk, clunk, and he pops up, and then she gives a speech and walks off. And her presence annoyed me for some reason. I was like, she just was not taking it seriously. It was a serious situation. And I said that to April, she's like, yeah, but she knew that she was going to resolve things and it was going to be fine. But I'm like, she could have been just not quite so frivolous about it. I don't know. It bugged me. It's weird, but it bugged me.
And we did get that cameo spoiled actually in some commercials, which annoyed me. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know, but it wasn't so far afield that it would happen. I didn't know.
Oh, go ahead.
It's been rumored for so long. I just expected, and then there was rumors that she was being removed from it but I don't think.
Oh, gotcha.
But I mean, it was a literal Deus Ex Machina. Like they could not have,
right.
An intervention of the gods. She came in and resurrected them. I don't know. I feel like when that movie tried to connect to the larger DC universes, where it didn't work as well. I could have had this movie without her and see him come back another way, and I definitely could have. I don't know how much we're going into spoilers.
Sure. This is all. I should probably put a tag in, but when we typically do a movie, we get into spoilers.
I mean, it's okay. Yeah. We've always done it the same way, so I think.
But we can say We can say spoilers right now because I mean, at this point, there would be things that have not been shared and probably wouldn't see. So we can talk about the two post-credit scenes. So Randall, you're going to probably speak to that.
Yeah, that first post-credit scene where it's connecting to, again, like what seems like a universe that's no longer going to exist, and teasing Billy joining the JSA. We have no clue if JSA is going to happen with this, the new films. So it kind of just felt unnecessary.
Kind of flat. Now the JSA would then be referential to what we saw in Black Adam. That was the JSA, correct?
Correct.
Did they? I'm trying. The movie was forgettable to me. Did any of them? Did one of them die? Did any of them live?
Dr. Fate.
Dr. Fate. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But all the rest of them are still around. So now they're going to toss Shazam in there. So they're inferring that this is still the same universe where badass Black Adam and Henry Cavill is Superman. You're right. It's a total mess. It was a total. And it's not like they couldn't have yanked it in the last couple of months. Because they're like, oh, it's too late. We filmed it and whatever. And they do that kind of thing all the time. So you're right. It could have been yanked.
One scene. You can't yank Wonder Woman without heavy reshoots. But
right, exactly. Yeah, that was because it was the end of the film. And then, your second stinger took you right back to the stinger from the first film, which was Dr. Savannah and the weird talking caterpillar, which I know he's got a name. Tell me.
Mr. Mind. Mr.
Mind. Okay, gotcha. And so, but that was also played for less because Vonda was like, I've been sitting here for 3 years and scratching my ass and blah, 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 blah. And Mr. Mind's like, we're going to have a good time. We're going to do that right when I get back. And then he scurries off.
I love that. Yeah,
that's what I wanted. That was good. And again, to your point, this could be a film franchise this is the end of the road. But in the here and now, that portion of it was very enjoyable and parts of it were very fun. Even if it ends up going nowhere. But yeah, I'm kind of in alignment that I really think that first stinger could have been dumped because it was just kind of useless. Even though I love seeing the Suicide Squad characters. And was it? Yeah, Argus seeing what's his face? Who's the comedic actor? The man, the guy with glasses.
Yeah,
Steve Agee.
Steve Agee,
Steve Agee, and then the
James Gunn's wife.
Yeah. James Gunn's wife. So I love seeing them, but again, it was pointless. But whatever, it was still fun because Shazam's a fun character, so he found a way to make the scene fun. But it's kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah. Fun fact: the voice of Mr. Mind is actually the director.
Is it?
Well, yeah, it's all through a voto quarter. It's so he just kind of wonked it up. But yeah, that was fun. That was fun. All right, other thoughts? Or are we gonna give it the big pitch with the rating?
I'll just say one last thing. I think this is a movie you can take the whole family to. It's fun. I think I like the very end of the movie where, one of the big parts of this, the emotional center was, Billy was worried that, as a foster kid, which my dad was a foster kid, he was worried he was going to age out and have to leave. That is a thing that a lot of people don't realize. And then you realize in the foster care system. So the fact that they were talking about no, you're always part of our family. You aren't aging out. And I think that was a great, really nice point.
Totally.
Yeah, I agreed. I mean, the movie had its heart, and so you can forgive. At least I can forgive so many flaws if it has a heart like that, and in that case, it worked. I mean, from a critical angle, one thing that kind of irked me, but I feel like a victim of the pandemic, is all the kids grew up over the past 4 years, and it's weird to me that if this franchise was to continue, Billy's now going to be a legal adult. We already lost Billy as a kid.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a tough piece about the fact that it's not a weekly show. Where, for example, I came back from the Star Trek cruise and I met Sirach Lofton, who is Jake Sisko on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. When that show started, he was 14, so he was then 20 years old when the show ended. That was 25. That was 30 years ago. So now he's almost the same age as us. So yeah, it's very unusual to see. Well, here's a guy who's as tall as I am. He's muscular. He's a basketball player. As opposed to you see Billy. He's a scrappy 14-year-old in film one. You see Billy, he looks like, he's your younger cousin in college in the next movie. And it's just been like that. But that is really how fast kids grow. There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
I thought a standout was Darla, the youngest. She was adorable. Yeah. She was cute. And when she was older playing the adult, she still was super cute and funny. And she saved the kittens, which I thought was hilarious.
Aw, I know. I love that. Was actress Megan Good, who I like a lot of stuff.
She's great. Yeah. So I guess it's rating time, Charlie. So Charlie, why don't you go and rate?
We're writing it out of 10 Shazams, 0 to 10 Shazams, I assume. Very high. This is like an 8.5 for me. This is as much fun, especially after Black Adam. This is as much fun as I can remember having in a DC movie in some time. So 8.5 for me.
Randall,
I'd probably go with an 8. Yeah, I think it more worked than didn't, and I want to go back to it, and that's the best compliment I can give. I don't want to go back to Black Adam.
Oh God, no. We're all good with that.
Yeah, I'll give this one a 7.75. I'll get with Charlie's weird decimal points. And I will say taste the rainbow. Enjoy the unicorns. Yeah. They are adorable. They're not adorable, but the unicorns were cool.
The unicorns were great. And I forgot to slip this in, but I said it to April. I thought of the three antagonists, the female gods. I thought Lucy Liu was over the top in a way that I didn't enjoy. I thought she was too, twirling mustache villain.
Cackling, Helen Mirren, was better. She was more fair and balanced.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, but Lucy Liu's portrayal kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But anyway, that's it. My chief complaint.
Well, very good. Well, this was a lot of fun. Yeah, I see the movie. I think it's well worth your time. Just a very low stakes. Just enjoy yourself, take your brain out, and have a good time with that, especially with superheroes.
Just like 65. Take your brain out.
And you really only need to see the first film, and you don't even need to see the first film if you don't want to. So
which we did. We did watch it late last week, so we were just booted up. But again, I didn't feel like we needed to because I'd seen it a couple times in passing. So yeah, good.
Very good. Well, very good. Well, that is the end of our show. But before we go, Randall, thank you for joining us. This was great. Tell people where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter or Instagram. I mean, my last name is kind of hard to spell, but it's easy to find me. So Randall Lotowycz, LotowYcz. But you'll find me on most social media.
Nice. Good deal. Todd, what about you?
I'm at Txtra on regular Twitters for my personal takes on video games and sports and things like that. But definitely need to follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter for basically updates on what we're doing for our podcast and our Patreon. Go to our Patreon, patreon.com/SecretFriendsUnite to see what we've got there. So you can get a taste of what we're making. And if you want to join us, please do. And if you don't have the money or you don't want to join our Patreon, tell people about it and definitely share. And then other than that, you know what? We're on podcasts everywhere. So you know what'll really help us? Rate our podcasts and share those with you. Yes. And a surprise, if you rate our podcast, you share it with me, you're in the running for a code for Gotham Knights, the PC game. So if you want to do that, I will get you the code. But let us know that. Just basically take a picture of your review and DM myself at Txtra or at Secret Friends U. DM me that picture, and then you'll be in the running for that code for Gotham Knights.
Ooh, and since Todd did that, when that is done, I have something to offer as well. So, Todd, don't let me forget. I've got some movie codes I've been sitting on for a while that I want to make sure I get out there. So, well, cool. Well, you can find me over on Twitter at the C3. Go ahead and spell it out. My wife, April, and I do run the USS Grand Petoskey. We're the Michigan chapter of the International Star Trek Fan Club. I also actually run Region 13 in SFI, which is Michigan and Eastern Canada. If you're listening to the sound of my voice and you are a Star Trek fan in that necker, drop us a line at a website for code response from that website or any socials or just me on Twitter, and I would be happy to connect you with other Star Trek fans in your neighborhood. With that, friends, thank you as always for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
Shazam! Also, that's my name.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.